He didn't ask him about aqidah. He said, what else is there? He said, fiqh, jurisprudence. He said, what does a faqih do? So he said the faqih, and subhanAllah, look at how a Sha'bi understands fiqh. He said he interacts with the people, understands their problems, understands their issues, then goes back to the Quran and the Sunnah and tries to find things that are applicable to them. Meaning a faqih in his nature, if he sits in a masjid and doesn't interact with the people, then his fiqh is going to be off. It's going to be deficient. Because one of the first things that a faqih, a scholar, has to know is ilmul makan wal zaman. He needs to know his time and place. He needs to know his context to properly be able to give fatwas that deal with them. And he sees fuqaha as people that help people. So Abu Hanifa said, I like that one. I'll do fiqh. Who should I go to for fiqh? SubhanAllah, this is his conversation. He said that you could go to Hamad ibn Abi Suleiman. So it's going to start off with Hamad here. Hamad ibn Abi Suleiman, the first teacher that Abu Hanifa is really going to spend time with. Now, I want to bring up something here. There were a lot of ideologies here, a lot of theologies, creeds, movements. Why didn't he study that? Because Imam Abu Hanifa, at a very early age, when people would start to debate these things, subhanAllah, look at his words. He said, I don't want to have anything to do with these debates. They said, why? He said, because it seems like the only thing you do in these debates of aqa'id, of creed, is you try to make the other person a kafir. I see no good in that. Like at the end of the day, what you're trying to prove is that the other person is outside of the religion. Doesn't understand aqidah, doesn't understand the religion. Isn't that what all debates of aqidah tend to be? Respond to this person, respond to that. He said, what good is that? I don't see any good in that. In debating over theology and ideologies and then making the other person out to be a kafir. And Imam Abu Hanifa said a powerful statement which we should apply in our times, because one of the most powerful movements of his time was the Khawarij, right? The extremists that made everyone out to be a kafir. They did takfir on everybody. Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, he said, for me to deem 1,000 kuffar, 1,000 disbelievers, as believers by accident is more beloved to me than to deem one believer a kafir. I'd rather make a mistake and say that 1,000 people that are in truth disbelievers are actually believers, like make a makhraj for them, make a way out to say that they are actually believers, than to take one mu'min, one believer, someone who's in actuality a believer, and say that he's a non-believer. I don't like that. That's not my thing. And subhanAllah, that tolerance, by the way, will show itself in his madhab as well, in his school of thought as well. So he didn't want to have anything to do with that. Now, one thing also that's very important is that just because a Sha'bi told Abu Hanifa that now you need to spend time with the scholars, doesn't mean Abu Hanifa sold his business and said, I'm not going to work anymore, and I'm just going to go become a scholar and see how things go from there. He continued to be a successful businessman. And some of the people criticized him for that. They're like, you could do so much more if you just sold your business, Like the ummah will take care of you. There were salaries. There were, people, contrary to what people think, people did pay for Islamic education back then. We'll see it in Ash-Shafi'i. Ash-Shafi'i couldn't afford to get in halaqat too. They had classes. Their ulama were paid as, on the basis of their teaching as well. Right? Abu Hanifa is the exception here. So he said to Abu Hanifa, look, you don't need to own a business anymore. Just sell your business and, we can take care of you. People will take care of you. You'll be well off. And he said that, he said, I don't want to become dependent upon the people so that the people start to think that I'm being unethical. Meaning, if I maintain my financial independence, if I'm giving fatwa, then I'm not going to be at the mercy of the people here. It's very hard to give a fatwa against the guy that pays your salary, isn't it? Right? What's the problem that we have with our masajid structures today? Right? The imam is not truly an authority in the masjid because the imam at the end of the day works for the board, and a lot of times the imam is subjected to that. He's not able to speak. So Abu Hanifa said, I'd rather maintain my financial independence so that I can be completely free of this and say whatever I want to say. Then he said something powerful. He said, you don't learn true tawakkul, true trust, and true ethics until you own a business. Like when you own a business and deal with the people, that's when your taqwa is really put to test. Your tawakkul in Allah is really put to test. The bad months, the good months, even people that invest in things, like your tawakkul in Allah is going to be put to the test. It's going to be put to trial. You're really going to go through things. And if you don't fear Allah, the first place that it's going to show is in the way that you deal with your money. If you have a deficiency in your taqwa, it's going to show in your money, in the way that you deal with your money. So he remained in his business, and not only that, he used to buy clothes for his students. So when you became a student of Abu Hanifa, he'd dress you in a uniform. He'd get you nice clothes, nice shoes. He'd sponsor your household if he had to, if he saw potential in you. And some people said to him, why do you dress so nice? And why do you make your students dress so nice? And he said that this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala means when he says, وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. Rasul, to show the blessing of Allah upon you. The Prophet ﷺ said, if Allah has blessed you with something, then you show it. It's not showing off. He said, rather it's that people don't feel bad for you and feel that you're in need of them. Like there was a culture that the students of knowledge were all poor and they were in need. He said, I don't want people to feel bad for tulab al-ilm, for the students of knowledge. I want them to understand we're dignified, we're fine. And he said, if the kings knew the happiness that we were in, if the kings knew the happiness that we were in, they would send their armies to sanction us and take it away from us. Meaning we are so pleased in our ilm, like we're happy in our ilm, we're pleased in our pursuit of knowledge. If they only knew where true happiness comes from in studying and in learning this religion, then they would send kings to sanction us. Okay, so he remains successful in his business, but again, he gets a partner to watch at times when he can't be there, and he continues to monitor it, and Allah continued to put barakah in his business. He died very wealthy, rahimahullah ta'ala. Very, very, very wealthy. We also see now, let's go to the teacher. You guys want a break, or you want to, should we go for another 10, 15 minutes? Should we take a break? 10, 15 minutes or not? Should we go through his teachers or not? Okay. His first teacher, Hamad ibn Abi Suleiman al-Kufi. Hamad ibn Abi Suleiman al-Kufi. Hamad, rahimahullah ta'ala, was only 9 years older than Abu Hanifa. All right, so he's not much older than Abu Hanifa, but he was a brilliant faqih. Okay? Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah, he says about his journey with Hamad. He says, فَصَاحِبْتُهُ عَشْرَ سِنِينَ. He says that I became his student for 10 years. No one else but him. For 10 years, I stuck with Hamad. He said, ثُمَّ نَزَعَتْنِي نَفْسِي لِطَلَبِ الرِّيَاسَةِ. He said, then my nafs told me that I should go become a scholar now. That I have, and subhanAllah, he's being honest. He said, my nafs, myself deluded me into thinking that I should have my own halaqah now. He says, فَأَحْبَبْتُ أَنْ أَعْتَزِلَهُ وَأَجْلِسَ فِي حَلَقَةٍ لِنَفْسِي. So I decided, I love that I would, I want to have my own halaqah now, and I can leave him and I can do my own thing now. He says, فَخَرَجْتُ يَوْمًا بِالْعَشِي وَعَزْمِي أَنْ أَفْعَلْ. He says, so I went out one day, and it was inside of me that khalas, I'm going to tell Hamad that I'm going to leave him and I'm going to do my own thing. He says, فَلَمَّا دَخَلْتُ الْمَسْجِدَ وَرَأَيْتُهُ. He said, when I entered into the masjid, I was about to tell him, and I saw him sitting there. He says, لَمْ تَطِبْ نَفْسِي أَنْ أَعْزِلَهُ. He said, like my nafs wouldn't allow me to leave him. He says, فَجِئْتُ وَجَالَسْتُ مَعَهُ فَجَاءَهُ فِي تِلْكَ اللَّيْلَةِ نَعْيُ قَرَابَةٍ لَهُ قَدْ مَاتَ بِالْبَصْرَةِ. Hamad was originally, it seems like he might have been from Basra. So he said that one day, after I was sitting with him for some time, one of his family members passed away in Basra. So he left to Basra. وَتَرَكَ مَالًا وَلَيْسَ لَهُ وَارِثٌ غَيْرَهُ. That this relative of his that died in Basra had no inheritor except for him. So Hamad was going to inherit the money, and this was also